The North American Cup Series, or NACS, is one of the biggest climbing competitions in North America, bringing together some of the strongest climbers on the continent. In this video, you'll see me compete in my first ever NACS, and it was by far the biggest competition I've competed on. Fun fact, I actually appeared on TV because they were promoting this NACS competition from our home gym here in Quebec. I made it, Mom! I'm on TV! As for my qualification round, right before I start showing you the boulders, I'll leave you with my thoughts one day before the NACS started. Well, one day before NACS, I'm cooked. I've tried to train the most I could, but this stupid finger does not want to heal. My pulley is like completely hurt, and if there's crimp, I'm actually considering just not doing the boulder. We'll see. I'll have to tape probably, but yeah, just to say my preparation did not go to plan. I am gonna try my hardest, but damn, we'll see. It's tomorrow. I'm not ready physically and mentally, but I'm not really having pressure right now. I'm just like, oh, it's NACS, and I'm actually gonna compete against North America's best climbing athletes. So I just think it's a privilege, and it's at my home gym, which is the coolest thing that could happen. So yeah, no pressure, not ready, but I can't wait. And it's also gonna be the first time I do this 5 minutes on, 5 minutes off format. So basically, I won't see the boulder before, so I'm just warming up, and then when it's my round, I go into the boulder, I see it for the first time, and I have 5 minutes to complete it. And it's going to be 4 boulders. So yeah, that's the format. I can't wait, and I'll see you tomorrow. So, the NACS day, we were all waiting to get in the isolation zone because it closed at 9 AM, and unfortunately my round was at 3 PM. So that means I was in that small isolation zone, just waiting there for 6 hours straight for my round to start. So after a whole 6 hours of waiting, I went into my first boulder. I just run into the mats and see this weird slab that looks impossible to start. So I was like, okay, I'll just improvise for my first attempt. I'll try to get my feet up and I'll do a fat squat on my left leg. But I realized that my chicken legs were not having it and I had trouble starting the boulder. So I was like, nah, there's no way I'm gonna start my round by not even establishing the starting position. And remember that in this format, I cannot see what the other people tried. So I was a little lost on what to change on my beta, and I was just too focused on my legs, and my tries were not really going anywhere. So I was starting to question myself, like, are my legs not strong enough? Do I need more muscles? But of course, it wasn't that. It was more of finding the right beta. It was only at my 4th attempt that I finally found out that the screw hold was so good. So I wish I found that earlier, because I had no time and no more leg power. So I was already having regrets on this first boulder. But as usual in comps, you just have to reset your mental and move on. So we're moving on to the second boulder of my round. This boulder has a super physical start because you have to squeeze the hell out of those slopers. So it really doesn't get more physical than this. I was still struggling to just start my boulder, and in the meantime, Oscar was completely destroying the next boulder. So that definitely played in my mental. I was thinking that my round was terrible because I couldn't even establish the 2 first boulders, and other climbers were just eating these boulders like candy. But this is really when the comp mental starts to kick in. You have to completely isolate yourself from others and just think about the boulder you're on, because it's never too late to make a comeback. And in my position, especially being in between 2 of the strongest climbers in Canada, people that made semis in World Cups, finals in World Cups, I knew they were strong and topping everything, but that was still like in the back of my mind telling me that my round was not going good. So I was trying my hardest to establish the starting position, but I just need more strength. I couldn't do anything on these boulders, and it was probably one of the most humbling experiences I've had in my life. So here is one of the two brothers to compare him and my round. So he just fell once in the starting position, but then completely destroyed these pinches, and after the starting position, he kind of just bullied the boulder. I'm not gonna lie, not starting the boulder in 5 minutes is not even humbling, it's just depressing at this point. So with my mental completely crushed, I had to move on to the third boulder. And what's funny is almost every single climber did as bad as me on the first two boulders, but I didn't know that. For some reason, the route setters decided to be villains for the first two boulders, and then on this third boulder is really when you can make a change in the score. So I was gripping the hell out of this pillar, I did not want to fall again, and I finally did a move on a boulder, and right here I think I invented the leg hook, putting my whole leg on this pillar, and with all of this gripping, I finally hit the zone on a boulder. So I was super psyched to get something on my score finally, but I was in big trouble at this point of the boulder. And honestly, I did not see myself moving past that high point. I still sat down and there was like 2 minutes left, so I gave myself a fat rest to give myself one more solid try. But judging from the last attempt, I was like, nah, I'm not topping this boulder. So if I was really being efficient, I think I should have just went back to my chair, getting more rest for the next boulder. But there was like 1 minute and 30 left, so my ego was like, nah, let's go again. So I gave everything on this attempt, went back to this point, and added absolutely nothing to my score. So I just wasted my energy like a stupid monkey. Surprisingly, if we compare my try with Victor's try, there was actually not much difference. Getting to the zone was hard but super realistic for any of the climbers over there. But after taking the zone, the next section was on another level. And that's why when I was doing the second boulder and just seeing Oscar completely demolish the third boulder, I was thinking, what the hell is that guy on? But looking back at the footage, I'm actually relieved that the boulders were really not easy at all. Alright, let's move on to my favorite boulder of the round. This fourth boulder was for sure the most weird boulder of the round, because every single position was super uncomfortable and awkward. Some of the climbers told me afterwards that they couldn't establish the starting position, but again, I had no idea how good or bad the other climbers were doing. So I was personally just super focused on getting another zone, because I knew that one zone was still not great. So on my second attempt, I kind of understood why some people had trouble getting out of the starting position. I forgot what I did on my first attempt, and I was now struggling to start. So that's why I'm saying this boulder was definitely the weird one of the round. It was just so uncomfortable to start. And then you have to do all of these weird presses and destroy your back to get to this next hold. And from here, jump to a very bad pinch. The funny thing is that I was having a hard time getting my index finger in before jumping, so it was definitely not optimal. And looking back at the footage, I don't know why the hell I was trying some different betas, because I was actually really close last attempt when I just didn't put my index finger in. So I should have tried that previous beta again. I just missed some brain cells at that moment. I was also getting super exhausted physically, because believe it or not, doing a 5-minute to your max tryhard on these incredibly hard boulders is exhausting on the body. Anyways, I stopped being dumb and tried this method again, and this is where I saw it was really possible to hold this move. And was also annoyed because I knew I could hold that. The issue though is that I didn't have much energy left, and I had about 40 seconds left, so I had one last try to make this zone happen. So I just hopped again on the boulder and decided to stick to that beta because I knew it could work. I looked dumb as f*** trying to look for the footholds, but I was very glad to get the zone, especially with like 5 seconds left. Okay, so let's watch Victor now. Watching him later made me realize how different we climb in these positions. He took all of those black holes that were supposed to be for capping the boulder, but I didn't even think about using them. So that's the comp strategy that I need to be working on, seeing every single opportunity, like the first boulder when I forgot to use the screw hold earlier. So Victor was definitely not having it easy either. And even though he was using those black holds, like I said, this boulder was the weird one, and those positions were super awkward to launch with. However, let's not forget that he's a monster, and in 5 minutes he has a lot of time to adapt. And we're already at the last boulder of my qualification round. This lab was a little more dynamic and low percentage, as you see with the dual text on the left hand. By the way, they did not give me the zone, which is a little weird since I moved my leg, so I feel like I should have got the zone, but whatever. I'm not the judge, and I wasn't gonna pay $100 for an appeal. I was also a little confused on what beta to do to lift myself up in that first position, because I was just kind of reaching for the 10 points, but it was not really working. And basically the beta I wanted to do was taking the 10 points hold and my left hand palming it into the dual text. And I felt like I was super close, so I was gonna stick to that beta. But the issue is that after 2 minutes and a half, I didn't really do any progress in this boulder, and usually after a couple of tries you have to switch up your beta to try something else that could possibly work better. But in my case, I really felt like it was gonna work, and it was like a hip problem that I had to be more on the right, which is what I did right here. I could lift myself up, palm the dual text, and it was not an easy position to get out of. You see here I'm going super slowly, making sure I don't slip anywhere. And at this next move, I actually just went for it. I didn't even think about what I was going to do. So the inside flag was my first reflex. So having the zone now, and with only 50 seconds left, I was starting to panic because I knew how to get there, but I was falling stupidly at the start and I had no time, so I really had to be more efficient. I choked. Nobody that got that far fell at the last move. I think I was the only one to fall there. And just so you know, if I would have topped that, I would have been in semifinals of the NACS. So that's tough. I just had to step on that wall and it was GG's. But nope, I was not trusting my feet anywhere and I missed some brain cells once again. So, if we compare it with Victor, once again, on his first try, he opted for a dynamic way, which wasn't working. But then on his second attempt, he actually did something pretty similar to me, which was just going to the right side, and once you get that balance, you go for the 10 points, and from there, you just palm the dual text and slowly lift yourself up. So for the bottom section, it's pretty similar to mine. It's just that he's still in his flash attempt and I got this after like 6 tries. But right here, he directly steps into the wall, and even though it looked dramatic, it was a very efficient way to already get the weight on your feet. And that way, he was just stepping on the wall like it's some jugs and did the last part so easily. After the dyno, he did not even hesitate for a second to step on the wall, and I was just stuck there thinking about what to do with my feet. So once again, I just gotta learn these comp tactics. So that was my round at my first NACS. Like I said earlier, my round started up super bad. I couldn't even establish the starting positions on the first 2 boulders. But then I just started doing zones and zones and zones, slowly building my score. And yeah, surprisingly, I got super close to semifinals. So that was definitely unexpected for me. My goal was to not finish last, and I ended up being 33rd out of the 67 male athletes. By the way, I wasn't lying. The Boulder brothers really are monsters. Anyways, I'm super happy of my performance, and the round was honestly just very hard. I've discussed this with the route setters and other people, and yeah, the round was just overcooked for the level. There was lots of people from the US who didn't do any zones. So yeah, just to say, this round was not easy at all. So for those who made it this far into the video, thank you for watching, and I'll leave you with the finals that I filmed the next day. Enjoy!
Il y a son vlog qui est en devant. Oh!